Hey YouTube, it's JP Dillon. Welcome to the final installment of the Pioneer CT-F1250. We're going to do a couple of checks and fine adjustments, and then we're going to button it all back up. I'm primarily concerned with the playback head alignment, and there's signs that there's been obvious tampering, so I'm going to show you how to deal with that. And then we'll put it back together and get it on its way to its owner. So you will need an oscilloscope, and you will need a test tape. You can get a wow and flutter tape from various people. I purchased one from Raccoon Audio Labs that's pretty decent, not too expensive. So we got our nice transport working properly. I'm going to put my test tape in here, and we're going to hit play, and we're going to take a look at our scope here. And so what we're looking for is, if I lay this down on top of each other, what's the phase alignment? And you can see it's close. It's really close. But it could be just a hair better. Let's see here. So let me grab make sure you demagnetize your instruments. And then we're going to go over here to our head alignment screw. This adjusts our azimuth. And we're going to adjust it until that phase is corrected. And they're kind of on top of each other. Now you're going to have some imperfections because of tape wander and stuff like that. But as you can see, I can essentially lay it on top of each other and it's good. You see a little bit of flutter in the tape, not too bad. There's almost no wow at all. It's actually very good. So I'm not going to bother digging out my wow and flutter meter right now. I'd play some music, but all I have is copyrighted stuff, so we can't really do that. But the take-up torque is good. The pinch rollers are working. It's got very low wow and flutter. This is exactly what I want to see. So, and all the transport functions are great. So, we can do a brief record test and see how well that goes. I'll have to get my signal generator and stuff. The owner said it was previously aligned for high bias, so I'm not really going to dinker with that. It did a good basic record test just fine, so I'm going to leave it at that. But let's put it back together, and then we'll do one final test on it. As I'm putting it back together, I notice that little hairline crack right there in the JB weld of the previous attempt to repair. I did fuse the top parts already in that part there, as you can see, but I noticed that flexing that, you could see it get wider and narrower there, so that needs to be taken care of. So let me get a soldering iron here that's good and hot, and we're just going to fuse this crack together. Just like that. I don't need that busting loose. And again, as I've mentioned before, this is a real weak point on these machines. The plastics are old and brittle. It's under spring tension from this clamper. And so as you can see, it's not coming apart now. So now we can continue putting it back together. Now it's best to have this thing on its back when you put the faceplate on, because you will need to carefully guide all of these buttons back into their holes. Also the LEDs. So just do a quick check and make sure you hear a nice snap from all the buttons. That tells you that it's lined up. Same with the headphone jacks. They should be flush with the front panel, not recessed or downward. But that's really important. Because the last thing you want to do is break one of those LEDs or tack switches. They're not easy to replace because they are a unique size. So now it's just a matter of putting the screws back in the bottom and the top, and then we can focus on putting the knobs and stuff back on. Alright, so we got our bottom screws in. The two with the washers hold the transport. There are three here that hold the faceplate. I turn the knobs all the way counterclockwise to clock them, and then put the knobs on in their appropriate places. So let's do that real quick. Okay, now we got our knobs on, we got our top and bottom screw sets on. The only real thing left is to put the top cover on. and then she'll be ready to go back home. I'm going to do a quick record test again and a playback test again, just to make sure that everything's honky-dory now that I put it back together. And then we'll reassemble it and call her done. Alright, so I did my record test. I had to bump the bias up just a little bit to get the channels to equalize on all frequencies, but that's no big deal. That's why it's adjustable. Just checking out my output there. Everything looks happy. I think this thing's good to go. Really low wow and flutter like it's supposed to be. So let's put the cover on and send it. Alright folks, got her all buttoned back up. She's ready to go back home to her owner. So, in conclusion, this is a real challenge. If you've never done cassette decks before, or you're not well mechanically inclined, I do not recommend that you take on one of these as your first cassette deck repair foray. You really have to replace all the rubber, all the belts, all the rollers, all the everything. So we did both bench rollers, we did the idler, we did the belt. It did not need speed recalibration, which is pretty much true for these. There's not a whole lot that goes wrong in a direct drive circuit with a phase lock loop. A little bit of tweak on the bias to get the record circuit happy, but no big deal. The alignment needed a little bit of a touch-up, but otherwise this thing's golden. This is a great playback machine. The guy's going to love it. He's got lots of tapes he wants to play back. It's going to be reliable now that it's completely serviced. The take-up torque is adequate. The reel motor is working properly. So these edited videos don't really show the true time that's necessary in order to service one of these, which has been about 8 hours. It's really been about 8 hours worth of work. So unless you're willing to invest that or pay somebody who's skilled that kind of money, don't buy one of these. Buy something that's a little more serviceable. Like a Nakamichi or something like that, like a BX series or a CR series, a DR series. They're a lot more user-friendly to service. These Pioneers are mechanical nightmares, and you saw in the first couple videos what was necessary to take it all apart and do it right. But anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this series. I wish I could have made this bit a little bit longer, but there really wasn't a whole lot to do. The last guy who was in here, I cleaned all the pots and switches, so that's good. I did the touch-up soldering on the power supply, which was needed, but that's boring. But anyways, the transport works kick-ass. It's very low wow and flutter like we want. All the functions work. All the major things that go wrong with these have been taken care of, so he's going to enjoy it. Anyways, thanks for watching. More stuff to come. I'm debating whether to do a video on that VM changer there that just came in, or whether we should save the video for another project, because I already have videos on VM service, and that would be kind of remedial. But yeah, anyways, more stuff to come. Thanks for watching, guys.